Hello, welcome to MJRRPG, a podcast for tabletop role-playing game reviews, replays, etc., and so forth. This is a review for the Emmy Award-winning Call of Cthulhu scenario, Hand of Glory, which is the fourth entry in Type 40's Seeds of Terror, a series of concise one-off scenarios that can be run in a couple hours with minimal prep. You can read the text version of this review over on mjrrpg.com. The first part of this review is safe for players with minimal spoilers. Midway through, I'll warn them off for spoilerful, keeper-focused discussion of the scenario. In short, Hand of Glory is a compact, dark fairy tale that will give players the feeling of being in a grim story with a mythos twist. For experienced COC players or those that just want to solve the scenario, it can be extremely short, but would be perfect for total TTRPG newcomers. As with all seeds, it can be run with minimal prep and well within a short session. In fact, it was by far the shortest of any of the seeds when I ran it, clocking in a little under an hour and a half. I could see some groups spending longer with it, with more indecision and inter-party role-playing, but I think most keepers would be hard-pressed to make it over 2 hours without adding new elements. Like its predecessors, Hand of Glory is also location-restricted and time-restricted, though the time pressure likely won't come into play for most runs, unless the keeper tweaks how fast time passes. Also like previous seeds, Hand of Glory comes with some nice handouts and pre-gen investigators, though their backgrounds come into play less than in other scenarios. It's the first of the seeds to more directly deal with NPCs though, and the main NPC is a treat to play as the keeper. Hand of Glory has a different feel than the previous, or future, seeds, feeling more like a fairy tale than a traditional Call of Cthulhu scenario. If the players focus purely on investigation and solving the problem, or if the keeper runs it straight out of the box without adding any NPCs or some extra set dressing, a group can bowl through the session in a solid hour. But for a group very heavy on role-playing, or for players new to role-playing games in general, or just a group wanting something different than usual, Hand of Glory is unique and a magical little romp in some dark woods. If Hand of Glory sounds up your alley so far, your keeper can buy it on DriveThruRPG individually, or as part of a 3-title bundle along with One Less Grave and Scream of the Mandrake, 2 great little scenarios, or as part of the 12-title Miskatonic Repository Halloween 2021 collection. See the show notes for links. If you are a player, stop here. Spoilers haunt below along with keeper suggestions. You have been warned. The backstory of Hand of Glory feels like a classic story. Townsfolk blame and punish an old woman, who turns out to be a witch, of course, for a vague crime. She retaliates by kidnapping their children and trapping them in a spooky pocket dimension. The first and largest hurdle for Hand of Glory is its opening. As written, players do not have freedom of movement until over halfway through the text. The party goes into a pub to get out of the rain, orders drinks, then are drugged. Waking, they find themselves chained at the mercy of Auntie, a witch of Shub-Niggurath. When I ran the game, I played out the pub scene to ease the players in, but in retrospect, I would have just used the scene for investigator introductions, then immediately skipped to the chain scene. While the pub introduces other NPCs and some foreshadowing, the main issue I felt is that there isn't anything for the players to really do, and if they do make any actions, they risk derailing the scenario before it gets started. If they leave the pub, the scenario ends. If they don't eat or drink anything, it ends. So if I ran it again, I'd just have the players introduce their characters in the pub, then skip to them waking up chained. Or it could work to open with them chained and groggy, and slowly have their memories of the pub come back while Auntie taunts them. One other option, if you do run the pub scene and the players do something that upsets the scenario plotting, would be to have the patrons physically restrain and drug the investigators. That could introduce some immediate excitement, as well as make interactions with the patrons later on much more tense. The following scene with Auntie is great. She's a very fun NPC to play, rhyming and cackling like she's straight out of a fairy tale. The investigators being bound and having to decide who loses a hand is also great fun. From then on, the scenario is fairly straightforward. Go to A to retrieve B, without many obstacles in the way. There isn't much investigation or problem solving to be done. The real meat of the scenario is the decision of what to do. Help Auntie and free the patrons and their kidnapped children, or try to trick Auntie and escape themselves, but dooming the children. While the discussions among the party of if Auntie was trustworthy or not, and if the patrons deserved help after the crimes they committed, were fun to hash out, I do feel some more complications could be added. In the end, my group didn't see any reason not to help Auntie, as that would also free the children. They knew Auntie was a witch, but she didn't seem particularly dangerous, and there weren't any hints she would cause much trouble. Some more direct implications, she planned to seek revenge or use her dark young for mayhem, or her goal was to summon her dark god to Earth, would make the moral decision much heavier. save the children, but potentially doom their neighborhood of England to the machinations of an insane sorceress. Overall, though, if you enjoy playing some weird NPCs, and don't mind buffing up the parent and children NPCs who are otherwise largely blank, and want to see your players navigate through a traditional fairy tale with mythos flavoring, Hand of Glory will be a memorable afternoon. Thank you for listening. Again, if Hand of Glory sounds like something you want to try, you can buy it in DriveThruRPG individually, as part of a 3-title bundle, along with one less grave and Scream of the Mandrake, or as part of the 12-title Miskatonic Repository Halloween 2021 collection. See the show notes for links. As always, thank you to CryoChamber for use of their album Cthulhu. I do hope you come back next time for more reviews and replays. Have a good one.